gentlemen, welcome to Hero Movie Podcast, your greatest source for superhero movie discussion in the multiverse. I am your host, Adam Portrais, and it has been a little while, but he is finally back in the saddle again. I'm joined by Mr. Sean Keenan.
Heidi can't believe they've made more than one crow.
And, of course, Bruce Leslie.
I'm a prickly pear, and this is the role Kristen Dunst was born to play.
Oh, wasn't she ever, though, boys? We are back, everybody. You know, a couple years ago when HMP first started up and we got to doing some things around Halloween, we decided, hey, let's do some spooky stuff. Let's do some scary stuff. And then we did The Crow, and after the show, I gotta put this on Bruce. Bruce goes, hey, wouldn't it be funny if we did a Crow movie every single Halloween? And I was like, that is the worst idea I've ever heard. And
I love it.
And here we are doing it for the third year. And honestly, it was one of those things where like I thought about it for like 2 days and I'm like, it's just a bad enough good idea to work. So we are here this week to review the third one in the Crow series, The Crow Salvation. No, we are not up to Eddie Furlong yet. I know some of you are at home thinking that, going, ooh, am I going to get my Eddie Furlong fix? Wait a year, come back. We'll have some Eddie Furlong for you, okay?
If there's anybody worth waiting a year for, it's Eddie Furlong.
Isn't it, though?
Oh, man, you're not wrong.
Isn't it, though? So, yeah, man, we'll be doing that today, and we want to thank everybody that helps us out doing this show by going over to patreon.com/HMP and helping, fuel the train that is HMP here, man, and especially in these upcoming months when all the big stuff comes in, all the big-time movies. We'll be talking about one of those big-time movies next week. Stay tuned to the end of the show for that. And, we really appreciate it, man. So
is it Captain Underpants?
Captain Underpants. It comes out on Blu-ray, and sometimes you have to review what the people want. You saw that though, didn't you, Bruce?
We should. Yeah, I did, and it's not good. We should put up a quick poll. We should put up a quick Patreon poll where the Patreon listeners have to decide whether we watch Thor Ragnarok or Captain Underpants next week.
Ooh, all right, done.
I say we don't do it.
We're opening ourselves up for punishment if we do that.
But I will say this is definitely the time to get on for the Patreon, because the way that it's coming up with November and December, we're going to have 2 weeks back-to-back of Patreon stuff because we have to put in certain things in certain slots to, make all the, the Voltron fit together, if you will. So do that, man. And that's at any level. Patreon.com/HMP. We thank you guys so very much for that. So, Sean, you've been marooned on a desert island, yes?
I have. The album I brought was Beastie Boys' License to Ill.
Nice.
I regret nothing.
Nor should you. And thank you. Thank you for not just, look, I understand its place in the thing, but you didn't go hipster on us and go Paul's Boutique, which is just a fine album. Do not get me wrong. But if we're going to have a more fun time, I think we're going License to Ill.
Hey, if I only get one album, it's going to be Weird Al.
Which one?
You can't go wrong. Probably Polka Party, but you can't go wrong.
He just goes, spin a wheel, baby. Spin a wheel.
That's his worst album. He even admits that's his worst album.
The thing with Weird Al is you always get 2 songs for the price of one, because if you get bored of the Weird Al version, you can pretend it's the actual version. I want White and Nerdy. I changed my mind. I want the album with White and Nerdy on it. I do have a White and Nerdy hooded sweatshirt if anybody wants it.
There's a big shocker. Bruce owns something that just describes exactly who he is on the shirt, so no biggie there. All right, everybody, so this week we are reviewing The Crow Salvation. What do you say we go ahead and take a listen to the trailer? If I turn the volume up on the trailer, hold on.
It's a crow!
I want to be with you forever.
Only forever?
Come on.
The Crow legacy continues when a young man is wrongfully accused of murder.
Alexander Frederick Corvus, do you have any last words?
I loved Lauren. I'm innocent.
Now, with the guidance of the Crow, he sets out to find the killer.
Where did you come from?
I'll make sure everyone knows that you're innocent, that you loved her.
I want to know why. I can't be alive, not without you.
Eric Mabius, Kirsten Dunst. The Crow, Salvation.
All right, that was a trailer for The Crow Salvation, our spooky Halloween Crow movie of the year. Here's the IMDb plotline. As we know, IMDb always 100% correct in everything they say and or do. Alex Corvus returns to the world of the living to solve the murder of a young woman that he was wrongly accused of. That's a little weird sentence, but whatever. It's directed by Bharat Nulari, sure, and written by Chip Johannesson, who has a Sean Keenan connection of all things. Would you believe that one?
I wouldn't.
You should. Starring Kirsten Dunst, Eric Mabius, Fred Ward, Julie Lynn O'Keefe, William Atherton, and Walton Goggins. Now, we've done
Is this his first movie? It might be his first movie, right?
I think he did some stuff before this. I could be wrong. I'll take a look. But while I'm taking a look, why don't we take a look over and find out one of the most important, second most important thing of our entire deal. I can't say the most important because that would just be disingenuous.
It's time for Bruce's Comic Book Connection.
Bruce, what do you got for us?
Oh, man, what else is there to say about The Crow at this point? I mean, not only is it a rather limited comic run, but the sequels don't seem to relate to the comics much at all. Maybe if Brandon Lee had lived longer, there'd be more to talk about here, but, that's not going to happen. The comics did have multiple people endowed with the Crow powers, but for some reason, the movie sequels don't use any of the actual people from the comics. The central device is that the Crow is a supernatural bird that serves as the protagonist's link between the living world and the realm of the beyond. The magical Crow is capable of resurrecting people who have been murdered so that the victims may be able to seek justice on the person or people responsible for the death. So that does open up the door to an infinite number of protagonists. And by its very nature, each protagonist can only be part of one story arc because once they get the revenge, they pass on. Though, to be honest, I think it would be easy enough to contrive a circumstance where a previous Crow could be brought back. So how about a rundown of the list of people who've been the Crow in the comics, none of which have appeared in films other than Eric. And, of course, Eric is the original. But then after him, there's Joshua, who appeared in the 3-issue series The Crow Dead Time. It was the follow-up to the original series. Joshua was a Native American farmer of the Crow Nation who adopts the white man's way and becomes a farmer. Joshua, along with his wife and child, are murdered by a band of Confederate soldiers. And then 100 years later, Joshua is resurrected by the Crow and hunts down the soldiers who have been reincarnated as a biker gang. Now, that would be a butt-kicking movie, if you ask me. But no, that's not what we got. Iris appears in the 3-issue series, The Crow, Flesh and Blood, and she's the first woman to assume the role. Iris is a federal conservation officer who's killed along with her unborn child by terrorists, which is another possibly cool concept. Michael appears in the 3-issue series, The Crow, Wild Justice, and Michael and his wife are murdered during a carjacking. He's brought back by 2 crows named Hugo and Manny. I don't know why they have names in that particular story, but he has to avenge his and his wife's death before the Gorgon blood running through his veins runs out. So Gorgon blood would have definitely made this movie better. Now, Mark appears in the 4-issue series, The Crow, Waking Nightmares. Mark and his wife are murdered by the Chinese mafia. Instead of going after their killers, Mark returns to save his twin daughters who the mob sold into slavery. Now, how about that? Actually protecting the living instead of going after petty vengeance. That would be good fodder for a movie. Mm. Leandre appears in The French Crow, volumes 2 and 3, published, as the name would suggest, in France. And in the 2-part story, the medieval crow is a medieval crow, which is something I could really get behind. It worked for Spawn, so why not give us a little medieval crow in the movies? Vincent is a young makeup artist in the 1930s who falls in love with Evie, an actress. He tries to rescue Evie from being raped by a gang of stagehands, but is murdered by them, and he returns a year later. And to be honest, I'm not too intrigued by that version of the Crow. Elora is an undercover police officer investigating a narcotics baron, and after being murdered and revived by a crow spirit, she must now face not only her murderer, but his creation, a cyborg that feeds on blood. Seriously, a cyborg vampire. That is a can't lose. Where's that movie? Jamie Osterberg is a foreign exchange student studying in Tokyo, Japan. His fiancée Haruko and other friends vanish only to return possessed by someone else. Jamie finds out too much and is killed, and he's resurrected by the Crow with a sword that seeks the truth. He learns that the possession was caused by a process where an old person gets to take over a young person's body. Jamie hunts down those responsible by allying himself with Japanese ghosts and demons. Did you hear that last part? Japanese ghosts and demons. Come on now. Where's that in the movie? There's a 3-issue series called The Crow Skinning the Wolves, which takes place at a Nazi concentration camp. And if you want to go dark, it doesn't get much darker than that. There's a 3-issue series. I just was going to read that again. There's also a lady crow named Karari, I think. And she's the only protagonist in Crow canon who cannot personally engage in violence. Instead, she has to help a detective named Joe Salk investigate her murder and find her killer and use the detective to get her revenge. That's an interesting twist, but doesn't work for me. I like my zombie heroes using Uzis and stuff. Yeah. In The Crow Pestilence, Salvador is a young boxer in Juarez, Mexico, who refuses to take a fall but has no problem taking a drug gang's payoff. When the gang kills Salvador and his family, he returns years later in search of vengeance and forgiveness. And I like to call this one The Crow in Boxing Gloves. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Now, when the movie folks give us a sequel, do they go weird Western? Do they go medieval Crow? Do they go Crow versus Nazi? Do they go Crow with ever-loving Japanese ghosts and demons? No. They go to Utah and give us a Crow that seems better suited to some fair to middling freeform sitcom. Or maybe he could be like a backup character in a late 90s Freddie Prinze Jr. movie, but good grief. At least the TV show gave us Eric once again. So how about it, guys? Are you ready to talk about this turd burger and then spend the next 364 days dreading the Crow Wicked Prayer? Also, next year I'm going to have to start telling people about the Crow novels because, yes, those are a thing.
Ugh.
So, Sean, do you think there's a chance we have 23 more years of this podcast ahead of us?
Why are you asking that?
Because there's one more Crow movie and 22 episodes of the TV show to cover. So I say if we keep going for 24 more years, we'll finally have a year where we don't have to review the Crow things anymore.
I love this. I love that we have this thing that we do every Halloween because, the Crow is garbage time as far as I'm concerned. But that's the fun part about it is that you know what you're getting into. There's never going to be a moment where I'm like, you know what? That was really great.
Just think about how old we'll be in 24 years, Sean. I can see Adam Adam starting the podcast saying, let's welcome Sean and Bruce from Shady Acres Nursing Home where they serve lots of pudding. And we're not talking about the Crow this time.
I hope. I really hope for that. I don't know if I'm going to be alive that long, but I sure hope so.
You never know, man. They might get the reboot going finally down there.
That's true.
You never
right about
know.
that.
So
I know that I got kicked off earlier, but how far did you guys get into talking about the Crow?
Nothing yet.
No,
we just finished up our comic connection. So
yeah,
very good.
And so, man, I was asking Adam while we were trying to get you back on here. Did you have any idea, like from the context of the movie, that this was in Utah and Salt Lake City?
That it was set in Salt Lake City?
Yeah.
I had no idea at all. Because the backgrounds of all of this movie, the sets of all these movies, it feels like it's a stage play.
Yeah, it does, man. And I've never been to Utah, but I have seen the Guyver 2, so I know what Utah looks like. And I don't think it looks like what we get in this.
I've seen the Guyver 2 also, and so I know what Utah looks like, and it doesn't look like the Crow Salvation. I know that.
And what a weird place, Salt Lake City, to set a Crow movie.
The script did read like this. It's an exterior day Crow movie. It's so
Well, did they need it to be in Utah because Utah still uses an electric chair? Because why else would you set it there?
Bingo, man. Utah for their death penalty in 2000, when this would have been getting made. I think they still gave prisoners an option that included a firing squad. Like they made the news in the past 20 years for being the last state that killed anybody by firing squad.
Okay.
Wow, that's awesome.
All right, firing squad, electric chair. Which one you going down?
Firing squad.
Oh, not me, man. I don't smoke, so I'd probably go with the electric chair than I would smoke. But because you have to have the cigarette to be cool in a French accent.
That's true.
If you're in front of a firing squad.
This is true. If you're not smoking is like cigarette, then you're like, yes. And then you do it, you put on the white blindfold there, and then everybody goes, and that's not bad. That's not a bad way to It's more manly that way because with the other one, only a few people can see it. This one, you can like say something just before you get shot or whatever. But this has like, and I don't, I don't know nothing from getting electrocuted or anything. But what is with this like 1930s odd football or hockey goalie helmet that they put on this cat?
It's the scientific term for it is a plot device. Because they have to burn his face off, and I know what real electric chairs look like because I've seen Wes Craven's Shocker movie.
Yeah,
and they just go over the cap of your head, so they needed a full mask thing to burn his face to make him look like the Crow.
Because when you're electrocuting Mitch Pileggi,
I've also seen Wes Craven's Shocker, and I agree with you, Bruce. Sorry, Adam. Go ahead.
I say because when you're shocking Mitch Pileggi, you want to see that mug, boy.
Exactly, man. Exactly.
Beautiful.
Now, don't they have some kind of last words? Like they ask him what his last words are, and they're so non-memorable that I can't remember what they are.
He's
but
basically just saying, "Hey, I'm not guilty. I didn't kill her. I loved her," and then off with his head, so to speak.
Yeah,
man. They should have came up with cool last words for him. There was a guy that got the electric chair. I don't know, probably in like the 60s or 50s or something. And his last name was Apple. Like on crack.com, they had famous like killer last words. And this guy's last words to the people that were there to witness it was, "Get ready, folks. You're about to see a fried apple." Now, that would have been good for this guy. Something like that.
What if like, because we find him in his jail cell there playing chess there beforehand, what if he just goes rooked upon 2 or whatever crap? I don't know the chess numbers or anything. And then they flip the switch and his boy goes back to the cell and just goes, "Son of a gun."
Man, and also his lawyer is playing chess with him in the cell right before he gets taken to old Sparky or whatever they call their electric chair there. And the prison guard says something like, "Man, you want your lawyer to spend your last minutes before your electrocution playing a board game?" And I kind of thought that was sort of a misrepresentation of chess. Like, I know that by the strictest definition, it's a board game. But let's be honest. If I said, "Hey, Adam, Sean, come over to my place tonight. We're going to eat snacks and play a board game," and you came over and there was a chessboard set up, you guys would be doing 180 degree out the door, wouldn't you?
Yep, we're done.
Absolutely not. I love chess. I would absolutely. That sounds like heaven to me.
I prefer like Candyland.
That's what I was saying, man. That's what I was thinking. I think the reverse shots because they were all insert shots later. So perhaps they were playing Candyland and it didn't play too well in the test screenings. And they were like, you know what? We ought to change that to chess.
Man.
My dad fought in Candyland. My dad fought in Candyland too. It's very sugary country there. They don't tell you that.
Oh man,
go there.
They did tests with 3 different games. They had Chutes and Ladders, Candyland, and chess won out with the audience.
It just seems more like dark.
It was originally scripted to be Trouble.
Oh, I like that one. Is that the one where you got to hit the die was contained within a bubble?
Heck,
and you got
it was.
The Pop-O-Matic bubble.
Pop-O-Matic.
Yeah, I love that, man. I need one of those with the D20. Boom, because we lose a lot of dice.
That would be so cool. Why is that not a thing? Come on now.
Oh, crap. I should have filed for the patent before I said anything to the public.
Listen, this show will go out when it goes out. You get the paperwork in here, buddy.
I am scribbling, "Dear Mr. Patent."
Mr. Patent.
It's like Trouble, but with a 20-sided die. I call it 20 times the trouble.
Dear Ronnie Patent.
Oh, man, I see myself going around to cons trying to sell my Pop-O-Matic D20.
I'm telling you, dude. I'm telling you, that would sell. I guarantee you that would sell. I'd buy one.
Only cost me $172 each, and I sell them for $15.99.
Yeah.
I never did much role playing like D&D type thing, but it seems like that dice is constantly falling off the table.
And man, anybody who complains about stepping on a Lego in their bare feet has never found a D4.
I was about to say a D4 will put you in the hospital, boy.
Oh man, have you heard the legend behind the creation of the D4?
No, let's hear it. Because no one wants to hear about the Crow. Let's talk about the legend of the D4.
Well, there was the whole scare that Dungeons and Dragons was like a game for Satanists, and it got kids to go down a dark path. So police started to raid Dungeons and Dragons games, so they introduced the D4 so they could throw them on the floor like caltrops whenever the police came to raid the game.
That's a ridiculous story, but I want it to be true so hard.
I do love that. That's pretty great.
That's what, like, I want to see that in some sort of nerd action movie where they just throw those out the back window of the car to, like, stop the police vehicles in pursuit.
Oh, I have a real strong feeling that could show up in Nerd Spawn Nemesis.
Well. It's like I'm seeing into the future.
Oh, man. So Alex gets resurrected. They they take the guy. His face was hideously burned by that terrible mask because there was a power surge at the moment they flipped the switch.
Well, no, that was lightning.
The electric chair gets hit by lightning.
Oh, yeah, that's a power surge, I guess, too.
Yeah, a natural power surge. You are correct. And all the lights are flickering, the little shutters on the stuff go and whatnot, and everyone just goes like, well, I guess he's getting it, but good. Look at him. He's frying up real crispy like.
And then when he comes up and gets out of the refrigerator and starts peeling his face off, like the burned face, to reveal his crow face underneath, I got to admit, man, that was pretty grody, like little gobs of the burned. It looked like, I don't know, like chunky chocolate pudding falling on the floor.
I thought it was like chicken cutlets.
Yeah, it did to me too. The part I don't understand is what was that supposed to be? Like, there's big chunks falling off of his face as he's pulling the thing off, and then when you see him, he looks like he could be in the movie White Chicks.
In fact, he should have been. I'll be honest, but I think he peeled off his entire face down to the bone, and then a new face grew back because of crow powers, and that's why he has the crow features.
That's how you can just answer anything here. You just go, it's crow powers. It's it is what it is.
And man, in this version of the crow, I got to admit, maybe I'm a little too sensitive about inconsistencies in power sets or not following your own rules, but I'm pretty sure at the beginning of the movie, he actually turns into a crow.
Yeah, I don't know about that, Bruce.
Because he flew away. Like when he escaped the prison, it looked like he turned into a crow and flew away. And then there's another part in the movie where he kind of glides more than flies, but he holds his arms out like they're wings, and it looks really bad. Near the end.
Near the end is where this movie looks bad.
I was about to say, saying this movie is like this part looked bad is just like that could be anywhere within its 2-hour runtime.
Yeah, why is this movie 2 hours?
Because, man, that's what the kids liked back in 2001.
It is a slog of a 2 hours.
I've got a story for you, like inside baseball thing here, where the producers of The Crow Salvation, I worked with them on their next project. They were working for Turner, like the network Turner.
Yeah.
And I had to do a bunch of punch up work for them. And I found out that one of the producers I was talking to was one of the executive producers of Crow Salvation. And I hadn't seen the movie and I never planned on seeing the movie because at that point I didn't know I was going to be on a podcast. And I said to them, and I said to him, I was like, so how was it? He's like, oh, it was the dream of a lifetime. I mean, I've always wanted to make a movie, and I ended up making The Crow Salvation. And the producer sitting right next to him, I would never have said this to him because, I like work. The guy sitting next to him goes, The Crow Salvation is your dream? That was your dream? Really? And I mean, like, he wasn't being funny. He was just absolutely like gobsmacked that the guy chose those words.
Aim for the stars, baby.
And, at the time, the weird part is at the time, Kirsten Dunst is fairly famous, but she's not, Spider-Man famous, right? She hadn't done Spider-Man when they made this movie.
This is the same year, man, 2001. Isn't that Spider-Man's year?
This is 2000. This is straight up 2000.
Oh, I thought this was 2001.
Well, and also I'm pretty sure they probably shot all of this, a couple years previous to that, and it took forever to come out, and blah, blah, blah. Because the Crow Salvation is going to have a much more difficult path making it into your eyeballs.
Spider-Man's 2 years later, actually, 2002.
There you go.
So yeah, she's not at her full Dunst powers yet.
Yeah, and I heard she tried to get Eric Morbius fired or whatever his name is, and get her boyfriend the job, but it didn't work out.
That's great. So it was just really surprising because I can remember thinking to myself, Who's in that movie? Oh, right, the girl from Interview with the Vampires in this movie, and that's the only thing I could remember. But the funny part is that watching this movie today, when you're trying to do the timeline on this, Kirsten Dunst is probably the most famous person at the time, but the second most famous person is the guy from Ghostbusters.
Ernie Hudson's not in this one. That was the first one.
I really want to watch. I really want to watch Stranger Things season 2 also, but I don't. And I know that's a reference in it, but I don't know the reference yet. I will know, but not yet. But so it was just really funny to hear somebody slamming the guy who shepherded this movie. Where like this was my dream come true, and somebody going, "That's your dream? Your dream sucks."
Well, it's funny because like while watching this movie, when I end up watching a lot of terrible movies, I have this thought come through my head because I believe this to be true. Is that no matter what movie you're watching, no matter how good, especially no matter how bad, there is at least one. There's got to be at least one person out there that is their favorite movie. And we found out that the guy who made it, apparently, favorite movie he's ever seen, ever done anything involved with, man. So it takes all kinds.
Well, man, when he goes to the cemetery and meets with Kristen Dunst, I'm going to be honest that when I saw that, I thought, man, I'm not sure who this actress is, but this is who you get when you really want Kristen Dunst and can't get her. And then she smiled, and I was like, holy crap, Kristen Dunst is in this? Because I didn't know. But the smile gives her away.
Yep, that is the thing with her. It's so surprising to me that they had to have shelled out a ton of money just to get the license to make The Crow. I mean, it's not something, especially during this time where now properties, like, the value of properties. It's not like the dude who bought Batman for nothing.
Yeah.
Like they know that The Crow is money. And so they bought the franchise for it. And this is what they came up with. They have some pretty good actors, not the Crow himself. That guy's a terrible actor, but they've got some pretty good supporting cast on this movie. And this is what they made. And did they make it in a weekend? Like I can't figure that part out.
It was a 4-day weekend.
So over Thanksgiving.
Yes, exactly. That's why they had a turkey instead of a crow in one of the scenes. If you look closely.
So just found out something. Eric Nabius, the guy who plays the Crow here, same birthday as me.
Like to the year and everything?
Oh, not to the year. So it was close. Okay. Kirsten Dunst and I are actually, I'm only like a couple of days older than she is, but this guy, but at least same day here. He's in 71. I'm in 82, but she's like about 6 days older or younger than I am.
Compelling.
Oh.
I was just like, well, how old is she? Because I'm trying to put the years together in this. So she was like 18 in this flick.
Now,
17,
who's
18.
Fred Ward?
Unfortunately, when I saw the credits, I misread it first, and I was just like, Burt Ward is in this, sweet, or Fred Willard is in this. No, yes, no, it's neither one of those.
I thought Fred Willard, man, because I got really excited about the prospect of Fred Willard in this movie.
Yeah, Fred Willard would have made something different for sure.
Well, first of all, Fred Ward is awesome. Fred Ward is in Tremors.
Yep.
Fred Ward is in
many of the Tremors.
Remo Williams, The Adventure Begins.
But man, I really, really thought it was Fred Willard when I saw that in the credits, and I was getting super excited.
Yeah, that was the first one I saw, and I was just like, what bizarreness will this bring into the... Oh, it's Fred Ward. All right, well, Fred Ward, he's no Fred...
He's no Fred Willard.
Fred Ward is solid, dude. Fred Ward is... I mean, I'm not like a massive fan. It's not like you just said something bad about Michael Keaton, but
I'm picturing you have a tattoo on your left cheek, and I'm not talking about your face, of Fred Ward now.
No, it's on my face cheek, actually. You were right. I just cover it up in makeup because not everyone's a huge Fred Ward fan.
So what's the deal with the scars on the guy's arm? Like, they make a big deal. Like, that's the identifying trait, is that it's these scars on his arm, and you see him like shoving something into his skin to make those scars form. I kind of expected whatever those metal rods were underneath his skin to matter, and I don't think they do in any way, do they?
No, it was just like the body modification thing of the early 2000s and stuff going. I don't know. It just seems stupid.
Yeah, because all kinds of 60-year-old men in 60-year-old men in law enforcement really love those out there body modifications that made you have to wear a long sleeve.
Well, it goes with my theory that if you're going to make a movie that you don't think many people are going to watch, you need to have something interesting in it, even if it doesn't make much sense. So you can just be like, hey, I saw The Crow Salvation, and this guy kept shoving stuff into his skin.
It was so sick, bro. It was amazing, man. I was like, wow.
It doesn't even pay off. They don't even mention it.
I know, like, I expected that those were going to be rods that either had some kind of magical power or maybe they had, like, microfiche in them that incriminated all the drug activities and that was keeping accounts of their illegal stuff. No. Like, I really wanted those to matter other than they were just, purely cosmetic.
I guarantee you that there is a script floating around somewhere where that pays off. They just didn't have the money to make that pay off.
It doesn't cost that much to get the actor to go, oh, no, you took out my magic rods.
My magic rods.
Those were my anti-crow magic rods.
Well, this thing did have a shooting budget here of $10 million. It was actually only released in one theater.
Was it in Salt Lake City by chance?
No, I think it was it was somewhere in Washington, I think.
Weird. What a weird choice. If you're going to release in one theater, why not like rural Washington?
It was just like, why would you do this? Okay, sure.
Probably the director's hometown.
He four-walled that theater himself.
The director's hometown was probably...
Oh, it's India. Yeah, he was born in India. Yeah. He's an Indian gentleman, so no, it was...
I didn't want to make assumptions, but by the name, I thought it may not be in the U.S. by chance.
No, he's definitely... He is from, what's the... Guntur, India. Guntur. I don't know. Spokane, Washington's the only theater that it actually was released in.
What did Spokane ever do to Miramax?
I don't know. But they were just like... They did a whole bunch of test screenings. As you might imagine, it did not do well. So they said, we're just going to release this pretty much straight to video outside of this one lone theater in Spokane that we're going to release it to.
Now,
probably a smart idea.
Yeah.
Did either one of you guys comprehend at all exactly what the criminal enterprise was that they were trying to cover up and how that led to Lauren's death? Because talk about convoluted, man. I'm reading when I read the Wikipedia summary, I'm learning things that I didn't quite understand when I watched the movie. Like apparently... I thought that it was all about the really, really low-quality webcams with the girls. But then it turns out there was some drug smuggling going on that totally I didn't pick up on organically.
Didn't they, shoot a guy or something, and she saw it, and they were like, get her?
No, they were trying to rape her, and she shot a guy in the foot. And so they killed her by stabbing her 53 times as revenge for shooting a cop in the foot or something.
And by the way... I like how they just sit there and just go like, that's got to be some kind of record. Well, it's not. The record is 310 in real life, so 50-something odd, that's not that big a deal.
I mean, Julius Caesar had more than 53, right?
I think so. I don't know. I'm not. Look, I'm no scholar. I think you people know that by this point. I'm not making any bones over here.
I pick up on the convoluted plot here. I mean, it's like, come on, it was needlessly complex. I'll just put it that way. They could have just had a dirty cop kill the girl and trying to cover it up. But man, they bring in this really weird, like, strip bar where all the women have to dress like cops or undress like cops, I guess you would say. And then they have like, man, that webcam that they show in this movie, it's like, whew. It's the lag rate's terrible on it. I'll just put it in that.
Well, the thing is, yeah, you're going at about maybe 5 or 6 frames a second. It's more like a really fast slideshow than it is a movie.
No, I think you're going 5 seconds per frame the way that thing was looking.
But it was not. Yeah, I mean, you got to remember this is still the days of like Real Player and crap like that.
Yeah, boy, it was weird, man. And they're sitting there watching their download numbers in real time on something that looked almost like a heart monitor or something.
It was sweet. They had like a sweet, like, here's how many views this thing has had, like they're refreshing YouTube or something. And by today's standards, that would be a very like middling YouTube video.
Yeah, I mean, 1.4 million is nothing to sneeze at, but it's not like worth murdering people over.
Yeah, it's not like 100 million people saw this video. It's no pineapple pen.
It's no Gangnam Style either.
Yep. Or Everyday.
Is that
Bro.
still the most watched YouTube video of all time?
No, I think
it is in my house.
No, I think There's another one from another country. I think Everyday Bro first out eclipsed it not too awful long because people were making fun of it more than anything. But I think it's another international music person at this point. I don't know. Is it as entertaining? The answer is no.
But there isn't.
Not as entertaining. I would seriously doubt the glory that was Gangnam Style.
Hey, the future's rice gum. We all know that.
No, it is not. No, it is not.
Well, man, so he figures out that the cops were the ones that murdered him and goes around killing cops. And it gets kind of fun for a little while, I guess.
Does it, though?
Not really. Something happens, at least. Like, you don't have to think too hard. He gets in the car with the cop. You know he's going to kill that cop and move on to the next one. It's not like me trying to figure out why the guy with the lumpy arms has this terrible video thing set up in the basement of what looks like a sort of legitimate nudie bar, but maybe it's not legitimate because it appears they have actual guns on stage. First off, I'm not the kind of guy that hits up a nudie bar, but if I were going to hit one up, it would not be one where the dancers were armed.
Yeah, it's like, hey, there's weapons in here. Well, I've got to go. But here's the thing, though. Like, with this movie's so stupid because, and honestly, I think part of where maybe Tarantino got a little Kill Bill from because he's got a whole list out here and he's crossing out names as he goes. Which, by the way, why is he crossing them out with an orange colored pencil?
That's all you got when you're undead.
That is so weird. Where it's just why an orange colored pencil is what you're swiping these names out with, dude.
It looks like one of those wax pencils you used to write on glass in a laboratory too. So I don't know. Maybe they thought it was cool, or maybe it's the only pencil they could afford.
Yeah, well, there's something really awesome about a grease pencil.
Yeah,
and that's what he's using.
Yeah,
it's there's a whole lot of moments in this movie where you're just like, really, we're going to stick around for this. There's at the very beginning, you're watching someone watch a monitor, and you're not even looking at the monitor.
Yeah.
You're just watching their reaction to what they're seeing on the monitor. There's a good 45 seconds where you're watching this. It's like, way to pad it out, boys.
Them cutaways are expensive.
And it turns out that his girlfriend's father is somehow involved. I'm still not sure I understand exactly what his involvement was, but he's involved. And then there's also this saucy secretary that Fred Ward has. Any thoughts on her? She's kind of creepy.
Which one was that? I don't even remember.
She's like the younger, attractive woman who is kissing him on the cheek and helps him do his taxidermy. Because no police organization on earth would ever say their chief couldn't actually do taxidermy in the police station.
I mean,
I have no thoughts on her. It's yet another person in this movie where it's like, listen, just go crazy with it. Just do whatever you want.
There's a little bit of a formula. They always have sort of a secondary, somewhat seductive female villain in all of them. Right. So that's her.
Okay,
I didn't even catch that. I didn't.
Oh man, but this is definitely different than the first one.
So Bruce, I've been meaning to ask you this because right now you're in the prime time where you have to watch a lot of really awful children's movies also.
Yeah.
So I know that you saw the movie with what's it called? The Emoji Movie. I know you saw that this year.
Yeah, I saw that.
And you watch all that stuff. So what is the worst movie you've seen this year? Is it The Crow Salvation?
Oh man, it could be. I'm trying to think. It's I hate to throw this out there, but Geostorm, in my opinion, gives it a run for its money. But Crow Salvation's probably worse than Geostorm because at least it had big budget effects.
Yes. Yes.
But man, this is slow. The effects aren't great. I don't know whose decision it was to cast this guy as the Crow because he is not the Crow. There's nothing none of that goth vibe at all about this actor, man. He really looks like he should be in a movie where he's a college baseball player or something.
Yeah, I agree, and he also it seems like maybe he might be related to one of the producers of the movie or something, because there's nothing extraordinary about him at all. You know, maybe they're just trying to go a different way with the Crow. I don't even know that.
And at least put a wig on the guy. Give him long hair.
Yeah, make him do something. You know, since Sting. The wrestler Sting stole that look from you guys. Why don't you then steal back and just have him be some big musclehead guy like Sting and have that guy be the Crow?
Why play games? Why not just cast Sting? I would have liked him better than this guy.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Could they afford him? Is he that big a deal?
Man, they had a $10 million budget. They could have got $11 million and given Sting an extra $1 million.
I think a lot of that might have gone up their nose.
Here's what I think. I think that they wanted Sting, but they called the wrong Sting. And they called the guy from Yes and the police, and his price was way too high, and they thought it was the wrestler.
And they made the mistake of calling him Gordon.
Yeah. They're like, okay, it can't cost that much to get Sting in this movie. So they called him, and he's like, I want Dune money. And they said, forget about it. We got this Mobius kid over here. We'll stick in the role.
I'll tell you this, guys. You all got some great things, but Johnny Cage 10 at yahoo.com from Scotland says, this is a truly great film. He says he likes Brandon Lee. Don't get the guy wrong. But the truth is, this is from his quote this is from his review on IMDb. The truth is, I like The Crow's Salvation more than The Crow, and I find Eric Mabius to be a better actor and his character to be more charming than Brandon's personality. So there are some really.
I need to see this. I need to see the Scottish dub of this. Maybe it's better.
Here's the thing. Let me ask you this: why does no one know what is just shocked at who this is? Because he looks exactly the same, but with a couple of weird little things on his face. His face isn't even all that super white, if we're honest with ourselves.
It's not white at all, man. They put no powder on this guy's face,
and they're looking at him, and no one knows who this is. Nobody. And then they're like, well, who are you? And then like when he tells me, he's like, oh no, it's you. I see it now. It's just like, really? You were confused? You were like literally at his, playing chess across from him, or you looked into his eyes as you were flipping the switch at the electric chair. He's not unmistakable. It's pretty much just that dude.
Yeah, man, I agree with you. And I don't want to take a dump on Eric Mabius's acting abilities, but I'm going to say this role didn't require a lot of acting abilities. So maybe they should have went with somebody who's a little better at like the martial arts side of things or something. Like anything could have. This movie is at such a low spot that just a little bit of effort would have made it better. Like it wouldn't take a lot to make this bad movie a little bit better. But they have a bad story, so at least give us a guy who, like if they want a guy that looks like this but can pull off the kung fu, go get Sasha Mitchell, man. From Kickboxer 2 and 3.
I think you're wrong. To quote Johnny Cage 10 at yahoo.com from Scotland, he says, it's clear that Mabius is the star of this film. The way he talks is delicious. That's a word. That's a phrase somebody decided to type down in the computer.
Coming from a guy whose favorite food probably involves a mixture of entrails.
That's very true. Not known for the high cuisine over there in Scotland.
Hey, there are lungs in haggis, I'll have you know.
So all this is an excuse for him to go down and kill person after person after person in every single time almost less enjoyable way, just because it's nothing's overly creative, nothing's overly fun. It just seems like a to-do list. And
then just out of the blue at the end of the movie, they try to give him a goth look. They give him the shirt that's all ripped up and try to give him a little bit to actually look like a crow. And he looks ridiculous in it, but at least it's a fun kind of ridiculous. They should have at least had him look ridiculous through the whole movie instead of running around. Like, not only did they not recognize his face, which is clearly him, but he's still wearing the same prison jumpsuit he was executed in through this whole movie.
You know what? I never thought about that, but you're absolutely right. He is essentially wearing that jumpsuit the whole time.
I mean, he did get a long coat at some point, and then his shirt got all ripped up. Like, it's hard to make a good Crow movie. That's clear. But it's not that hard to make a Crow movie, and this isn't a Crow movie. You give the guy some white makeup, some long hair, the goth overcoat and jacket, and you have him take great joy in killing a bunch of people. Boom, you got a Crow movie.
And don't forget, you also have to have some like really like pseudo crappy poetry.
Oh yeah, that's a given. That's a given. This didn't even have that.
I was about to say a lack of crummy poetry really was a swing and a miss on these guys' part. I'll tell you that much.
Because that's a very easy part. You know, these guys are so inept it probably would have been a good poem.
Hey, if they're anything like, brace yourselves, fans. If it's anything like O'Barr's poetry, you don't have to exactly shoot for the stars.
Yeah. Oh man, I guess they didn't. I also wonder if like the original agreement, did Miramax make The Crow?
Yeah,
the first one.
Mm-hmm.
So I imagine that their licensing agreement, like I think this movie was still part of that original agreement, and that's why they cranked out so many, even though they didn't do well. Kind of almost like a Fantastic Four thing, but I think they only had rights to the Eric Draven stuff from the comics, because when they do these other characters, they're going out of their way not to overlap with the comics at all. And I think they're trying to avoid writing another check. And maybe they used up all of O'Barr's poetry in the first two movies and had nothing left for this one.
Which brings me to my next question, and I'm glad you brought this up because I've been meaning to ask you guys this. How far away is it from when they have to release another Fantastic Four movie?
That's for you, Adam. I think, what is it, 7 years? I mean, they got a pretty long leash, don't they?
Yeah, but supposedly they're going about it in the Sony fashion, which will tell you all that you need to know right there. They're like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to put out a Doctor Doom solo film first.
Oh, right.
So they're grasping at straws, if we're frank.
Man, they need to go period piece. We've been telling them this
for years and years. That's the way to go. Why aren't you doing it? It's 1,000 times more fun.
Zap them forward to the future or something. I don't know, man.
Yeah, just start off with like, once upon a time, there was no such thing as superheroes, and then show them, in the 60s going off into space and getting their cosmic rays and coming back, and they're all for the Crow.
And they all
the Fantastic Four Crows. That would be awesome.
There's some executive back at Fox right now just going, let me tell you something, boys. I'm thinking that there's going to be a goth resurgence coming out, okay? Check this out. We're going to send the Fantastic Four to the moon. They're going to get hit by the Silver Surfer rays. Boom, they're crows.
Man, I think this franchise would have been a lot more interesting. We talked about Sting, but if they just cranked out a Crow movie a year with a different wrestler as the Crow, just work with WWF as they were known back then. I'm telling you, I really would have liked an Andre the Giant Crow movie over this.
The Undertaker is the Crow.
I would love to see Hillbilly Jim as the Crow.
Honky Tonk Man. The Crow with the pompadour kind of hairdo there and the chops.
Elvis impersonating Crow. Awesome idea.
I think that's great, man. Oh boy, but no. Instead, we're going to get whatever we get next year.
About $1 million,
I'm looking forward
man.
to the TV show, though. The TV show brings back Eric Draven.
Because that's really what this was missing. People are just going, what makes this terrible? No Eric Draven. I'm an Eric Draven fan myself.
Now, let's just say that they didn't have all the obvious obstacles. In 2001,
like a bad script.
Who was an actor on the scene that would have literally been a good Crow other than Sting, the wrestler?
Brandon Fraser.
He would have brought some fun to it. I won't disagree, but I don't want to take him out of those excellent Mummy movies to make the Crow. How about Billy Zane? If he gave it the Phantom treatment.
Honestly, Billy Zane could have brought something to it.
Absolutely.
He could have. Yeah.
Who was like, I don't know, who was a circa year 2000 guy that could do action and had long hair? Was there anybody?
That's the thing. There's not a ton of them. This is like the era where we said, Ryan Felipe is going to be a star. And you're like, huh?
I want to see Ethan Hawke as the Crow, man. I don't know. I don't even know what movies were made in 2000. It must have been a really bad year.
It was a dark time. The 2000s were a dark time for film.
You got Jackman, man. He was a good Wolverine.
You got a couple of good things in there. You got your Requiem for a Dream. No, okay, Jared Leto.
Jared Leto would have been perfect.
Jared Leto.
There you go.
Jared Leto would have worked.
Or Russell Crowe. Go off Gladiator, and his follow-up film would be The Crow Salvation.
Yeah, if you'd have got Jared Leto to beat, that would totally have worked. Man, that would have worked.
And you know what? Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon was a big hit in 2000. I think that given the nature of the source material, an Asian Crow would have worked real well.
It would have. That would be real cool if you kind of brought it over, just kind of give it like a just almost like a steampunk sort of vibe, or or what do you call it there?
Definitely not steampunk.
Not steampunk. It's the other punk one.
Cyberpunk.
Yeah, cyberpunk. That's the word I was looking for.
Keanu Reeves as the Crow.
Some Japanese cyberpunk with the Crow. I'd be down with that. That'd be interesting. Come on.
By the third movie, I'm surprised that they didn't go with a female Crow yet. And there probably would have been some lady actors that would have worked better than this guy. I mean, they really drug their feet doing the gimmick of, they didn't do the Lady Crow. They didn't do Crow in Space. They missed out on some good sequel material.
Crow
They
in
didn't do
Space.
Son of Crow, where it's a baby.
Starring Seth Green. That would have been perfect. Directed by McG.
Hey man, McG put out a good film that's on Netflix right now. Everybody, it's called The Babysitter. Go watch it.
I watched it, loved it, man. I like McG. I like We Are Marshall.
It's a good time, that flick. Well, it's come about that time now. While I have been kind of doing my very best to shepherd us through this dark pattern that we call the Stallone connection, nothing is better than having the originator of that segment back on this program to deliver something, I'm sure, of the highest of quality that you have come to know and respect from the man. So I ask you, Sean, how does this movie connect to Sylvester Stallone?
Well, thank you, Adam. I have a prepared statement.
Ooh.
Oh, William Atherton. In the 80s, if you had a movie that required an actor you immediately wanted to punch in the face just on sight alone, you couldn't do much better than you, William Atherton. Yeah, he's the reporter that gets punched in the face by Holly Gennaro in the first Die Hard. He gets called Wienerless in Ghostbusters. And he's Nathan Randall in The Crow Salvation. Now, I've never been a fan of The Crow, so this movie puts me in the very weird situation where I'm actually rooting for William Atherton to win in this movie. And I understand there are people who like The Crow. I even know why they like it, but I don't happen to be one of those people. I also don't watch The Breakfast Club and think, wow, those kids are really going through a lot. What I think is those kids need to shut the hell up and stop complaining so much. But you know what other movie has its fans and that I am also not a fan of? The movie Oscar. Oscar, starring the only actor who thinks that acting lessons are for sucky babies, Sylvester Stallone. You know who else is in the movie Oscar? William Atherton.
Yeah.
He is also in the movie Oscar, so he is this week's Stallone connection. Now, we've spoken about Oscar many, many times before, and while I'm sure there's some weird subset of people who think Oscar is one of the greatest comedies ever made because we have read the IMDb user reviews on this very show previously, I am not one of those people, and neither should you. And I'm sure there are many people who think The Crow Salvation is just a wonderful, terrific movie. I dare you to watch this twice. You couldn't possibly do it. So there you are, boys. This week's Stallone connection.
All right. Well, let's get down to it here on Hero Movie Podcast. We have our official Robin rating system. If you'd like to check that out, go to Facebook.com/Hero Movie Podcast. It's right there at the top of the screen. And while you're there, why don't you go ahead and throw a like up on that bad boy as well. Bruce, what is your review for The Crow Salvation?
Man, these movies keep getting worse. I mean, I like
yes,
The
they
Crow.
are.
I gave The Crow a positive review. I didn't like the one we watched last year. I don't even remember the name of it now. City of Angels, I think. Yeah. But it had Iggy Pop. It had some things that caught my attention. Man, this movie had nothing. This movie really could have used Ernie Hudson. I joked that they should have made Ernie Hudson the Crow in the sequel, but they didn't do that, even though he was in the first Crow movie. This would have been a good time to bring him in, but Ernie Hudson might have saved this movie, but Eric Mobius didn't, so I got to give it to Jason Todd.
Mr. Keenan.
This is a Jason Todd all day. You know who would be a better Crow? Is Louis Gossett Jr.
I like that thinking there, man.
That is a great idea. He's going to bring a gravitas to the role. He's probably going to be seated for like 75% of the movie. Anyway, this is a Jason Todd all day. This movie was so hard to watch that I've mentioned this before. when I'm watching a movie, if I'm trying to find anything else to do while I'm watching it, you have a very bad movie. And that's what happened to me today with this movie. I did everything else but pay attention to this movie while it was on. So it's a Jason Todd.
Well, round up the wagons. It's 3 Jason Todds all around, everybody. This movie is a slog. It is 2 hours long. It is way, way too long. It is way too boring. There's nothing to it. The style, first of all, and the music is awful. Just the worst, late 90s, early 2000s, industrial rock crap. It's terrible. Run away as fast as you can. Set yourself afire and run away as fast as you can to try to put it out, to get away from the death that is the Crow's salvation. But hey, we get to watch another one of these things next year, huh?
Wicked prayer.
What a
I still like it. I still think it's great that we do this every Halloween. This was a really good idea.
I'm excited for 2 years from now when we go to the TV show, because those episodes are only an hour.
Me too, buddy.
Oh, get through them quick. All right. Well, that is it for this episode, everybody. Next week, we're going to be reviewing, you guessed it, Thor Ragnarok. It is rocking at, I think, 96% on Rotten Tomatoes as of this recording. So, doing quite well. So, I'm guessing that it's going to light up the box office, as most of these Marvel films tend to do. In the meantime, Bruce, where can we find more of your work on the internet, sir?
Nerd Spawn Genesis is out, and you need to read it. It's got a 5-star reviews are coming in. A good friend, supporter of the show, Micah Hunter, said that his favorite character in the book is Rocket Face. So how about that?
There's a shocker.
It's a humor-packed superhero story that tells the secret origin of the first nerd spawn, Lil Man. It also gives some insight into the ridiculous fictional lives of Adam, Sean, and Bruce. It's only $2.99 for the ebook, which I like to tell people is the same price as a single DC issue of Aquaman, but it's a full-length novel. Free to read for Kindle Unlimited subscribers. And also, I've been asking people something a little different from before, but just pull it up on Amazon. It's the only nerd spawn on all of Amazon. Pull it up, tap on the cover, the look inside feature, let you read the first 2.5 chapters for free. I'm so confident that you're going to enjoy this book. I just want you to read those first couple chapters, see what you think. At the very least, check it out and let me know what you think. Nerd Spawn Genesis, like I said, the only nerd spawn product currently on Amazon.
It's absolutely true. If you go ahead and read those chapters that are available to you for nothing, you will just go like, I've got to see where this weird and crazy thing goes, and it goes, my friends. It goes. Mr. Keenan, are you alive even? I don't even know anymore.
I am so off the internet. I can't even tell you right now. I have nothing happening on the internet. I am never on Twitter or Facebook, or I haven't done my podcast in forever. Now all I do is work, and I'm sorry I haven't been around more. Trust me when I tell you, I would much rather be doing this than what I'm currently doing for money. I will be back next week for Thor Ragnarok, because that is stupid fun, and I totally can't wait to watch that movie. But as far as anything on the internet, you can find me on Twitter at Hero Movie Sean. But I'm never on there, because I'm never on the internet anymore.
Send him your love, and then one day he'll find it, and then it'll be like a treasure trove of love coming at his way at one time, to where a single tear will trickle down the side of his cheek, going, "Boy, I love you, internet." I don't know. And my other podcast, The Film Find at thefilmfind.com. We won't have a show this week, but we're doing double shows next week, and I may drop a little something in between there just in case for you guys. So thanks for being patient with that. And, of course, Nerd Talk Now on Monday evenings at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Just go to nerdtalknow.com. That brings you right to the Twitch page. We do a live show and talk back and forth with you guys and all that kind of jazz, man. And awesome news, fellas. Preacher got picked up for season 3, so we're going to be doing a 3rd season over at Preacher Podcast.
I saw that.
Not too shabby. So check out all that stuff. And, of course, join us here next week when we're talking Thor Ragnarok for the finally back Sean Keenan. Bruce Leslie, I'm Adam Portrais. Stay super, everybody.
Bye, Marty and Evie. It's good to be back, fellas.
Rage in the cage and piss up on the stage is only one sure way to bring the giant